talk about while we have some time together this morning is just a little bit of reflection on what's gotten us here, what we've seen over the past few days, and what are some thoughts on how we move forward as individuals and as a community. And so I think what I would like to do is just start by having each member of the Advisory Council introduce themselves, and then we'll dive right into our conversation. So Jessica, would you like to start?
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Jessica Leahy. I'm an Associate Dean in the College of Natural Sciences, Forestry and Agriculture at the University of Maine.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Kate Bullen. My pronouns are she, her. I'm with Forest Investment Associates, where I'm the Director of Sustainability and ESG.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tia Beaver. I am the Tribal Forest Manager for the Yakima Nation.
Good morning. I'm Ebony Alexander, and I am the Executive Director of the Black Family Land Trust.
Good morning. I'm Caitlin Pollahan. I'm the CEO and Executive Director of the International Society of Arboriculture.
Arboriculture.
And I'll mention we have a few additional members of our advisory council who weren't able to be here in person today, but with that, we'll dive into our conversation. So first, I'd like to ask this question of all of our panel members this morning. What initially inspired you to join the Women's Forest Congress Advisory Council? And Jessica, we'll start with you.
The steering committee was full. No, I'm very careful about things I say yes to, and I tend to evaluate them against some criteria. There's, in the university setting, as a faculty member, now Associate Dean, there's a lot of people would ask to join a lot of stuff. So first, I like to make sure that the opportunities that I say yes to are things that match my values. Women's Forest Congress certainly met that. At the University of Maine, we started a group called SWIFT, which supports gender minorities to be successful in the forest in their time at the University of Maine in the forestry program. And it's really focused on strategies for success, and the Women's Forest Congress had that positive attitude towards women in the forest sector. The second is that things that I want to get involved with have to help people. So as a professor, I'm looking for things that help students, that help, now in the Associate Dean role, help faculty, and this had a helping aspect to it to join the Advisory Council. And then the third criteria that I used, which I wasn't able to use when I was in my probationary period as a tenure track faculty member, but now that I have tenure and I have some power, I do. I've adopted a motto, and Rita cussed yesterday, so I think it's okay to share this. Life is too short for assholes. And so I'm on research teams. We form research teams that come and go based on grants. We're constantly choosing teams that we get to be a part of. It's a real freedom of academia. And I don't have to work with jerks anymore. And the Advisory Council is the exact opposite. It's awe-inspiring women, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess this was like December 2020, which was like the depths of winter of a dark winter. And I was going through quite a lot of burnout and frustration in my job at the time, and was kind of midway through a year-long leadership certificate program that had a lot of reflection about what I wanted to get out of things, was helping me work through my values as a coworker, a leader, a human, all of those things. And I was really seeking community and connection. And through a couple of work groups that had some real a-holes, I started meeting folks on the sidelines of things. One of them is Edie Sunny Hall, who we're going to hear from later, with a tree note. I hope you don't mind, I stole your word. How good is this? She's going to give a tree note. And Ara Erickson, others like Lauren Cooper, that I was meeting through these things. And I was like, these women are amazing. They're inspiring. They care about all the things I care about. And Ara said, hey, you know Lauren? I was like, yeah, I know Lauren. She's like, you know what we are on? The steering committee of this thing. And I hadn't heard about it, so I didn't even know to like try for the steering committee. And she said, you know, think about this advisory council. We'd like to have some perspective. I was more international at the time, and I was looking to really build a US network. And boy, did I get one. This is incredible. So that's kind of my personal story. I was looking for connection, looking for like values with other women who really cared about the future of our industry and wanted it to be as bright as possible, and knew we weren't going to get there dealing with most of the assholes in charge. Sorry, are we like not supposed to swear because this is recorded?
Rita did.
Okay. I swear a lot, and I moved from a place where swearing a lot was okay to the South, and so I really try and watch it, and now I'm back up, so I'm feeling it, and the Zumba got the energy going.
So I joined 3 reasons. The first one being this. So I've never been in a room with so many professional women in forestry, and that is a big thing for me. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is that, you know, I was able to join a group of women who were really supportive, and it was coming from that. There's no short of boosting you up, boosting that confidence. It's, you know, that you're doing a great job. You're really amazing. And that to me, you know, is you hardly hear any of that from any individual, you know, let alone other women in the sector. You know, I had a really rough start to my career, and, you know, and I joined this group during one of the hardest times of my life. And all these women were completely supportive and got me through, you know, a really tough time. The third reason is, you know, I am a tribal forest manager, and a lot of tribal people tend to focus, you know, management on their reservation and on their reservation only. And so when I was approached with this, you know, joining this advisory council, I literally was like, okay, here's my chance to broaden my scope of forestry across the nation, across different sectors outside of tribal forestry. So, you know, a lot of it was to, you know, for me to grow, to meet other entities and to meet other women who could, you know, kind of grow my leadership skills. And, you know, I'm not a public speaker, and it absolutely terrifies me, but here I am today being able to discuss, you know, why I did this for you guys. Yeah.
So mine is a little bit different. As a person of color, I work with the Sustainable Forestry Initiative that was started through the U.S. Endowment and now managed by the American Forest Foundation, and was asked about it. And then I serve on the board of SFI. So it just seemed like a logical next step for me. One, to make sure that the voices of, or at least a voice of a person of color was involved. And I don't do forestry, I'm not a forester, but we have a forestry program. So it gave me an opportunity to learn more from women and to see what some of the challenges are that women are facing in forestry. I know what some of the challenges are that people of color face, but women have a different set of challenges than people of color. So they're 2 separate things. And then it also provided an opportunity to help set policy. I'm a policy geek, and I like the idea of being able to be on the ground floor of something where you can help set it and make sure that you weed out all of those people before they get involved and get too entrenched into the process. And then the last reason is because it fits my family, my professional, my personal values. I believe that land is an asset. It should be a performing asset. And we, in my community, don't see trees as something that is an asset. It's just the backyard, or it's something that you harvest once in a lifetime, pay back taxes, pay medical bills, send a kid to college. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to educate the community at a different level. So that's why I joined.
So I was inspired to get involved, kind of similar to Tia. This is the first time I've ever been in a room with this many professional women. And I knew that as this work was happening, because of the amazing women that were helping to lead it, that this is what this was going to end up being like, with some actionable items that were going to come out of a Congress that brought everybody together to really work together to help change where we're headed as a profession. I am currently with the International Society of Arboriculture, but prior to that, I represented state foresters in the Forest Service. Prior to that, in home building, beer industry, there's a theme. So this is pretty amazing, and everybody said it yesterday, but being up here, it's amazing looking out and seeing so many women in one place. The second part of it, kind of similar to what you shared, Ebony, I wanted to make sure that arborists and urban foresters, were here and showed up. And so people could see themselves as part of this Congress, even if they weren't in a traditional forestry role or in forest products. So that was another reason that this, in a time when I get asked to do a lot of things, was something that I really wanted to make sure I could commit and show up for.
So for the next question, I'm going to ask Jessica and Tia to share your reflections on this. In what ways has your time here at the inaugural Women's Forest Congress, how has that further inspired you to continue to champion change for women in the forestry community?
Okay, so I'll go first. So as I, stated just a little bit, so the beginning of my career wasn't the greatest, and oftentimes it was other women that were, relatively negative towards me at the early part of my career, and I used to point it out and tell people, I had a horrible boss. And I joined this group, and then, just that first sounding board of, everybody in this room has their own separate experiences that, that they went through that helped define who they are, not as, not just as a person, but as a professional. And so after meeting with these women for the first time and hearing everything that they've been through, I kind of changed that perspective to, yes, I had a horrible boss, but she also experienced something during her time that helped define how she reacts. She started her forestry career in a period at which, she had to constantly defend herself. It was a male-dominated field where she was the only woman, and she had to go through that alone. So being in this group helped me, develop that understanding that, everybody else has, a reason for being the way they are, and I constantly strive to be somebody that I needed when I was in my shoes. And so that right there is the reason why, and how I grew from this group, and a lot of it is this personal development of being able to sit here and talk to people, being able to reach out, being able to consider myself a professional, being able to reach out and say, hey, I'm here, would you like to talk? Send me an email. Give me a text. And I'm so willing to do that because, that's who I needed when I was developing as a professional.
I was trying to figure out what to say because I don't completely think on my feet. And so I really need more time to think about how I've been inspired by the past couple days to further promote change. But I do always center around a particular leadership quote that I want to share with everyone. It's from Robinson, 2013. Leadership is the exercise of positive influence for the greater good from any position in an organization. So I can think about myself as an individual, and I've been inspired over the last couple days to think about, how I might be able to stick closer to my values, the importance of showing up to uncomfortable situations, but also to really positive situations like this. And I intend to take the resolutions and the action steps that come out of the delegate meeting this afternoon to heart. I also think about the organization, and Asia and Leah led a session yesterday that gave me a lot of good ideas on things that I could do that would be a positive influence at the organizational level. So at a university, as a middle management kind of person, HR, trying to hold HR's feet to the fire, to pay attention to remote distant offices and the challenges of geographic distribution of things, and the idea that policies don't reach all levels. So there may be DEI goals, but they may not extend upward or downward, and I can play a role in trying to make sure that that gets there. I can mentor and I can be mentored, so I can commit to that. And then on the professional side, I think I've been inspired. There's some discussion of special issues of journals, and that would be great. I'm a forest science associate editor, and when I get papers that have gender research, I have no one to assign the articles to. If we can get 2 special issues in 2 different journals, published authors who can demonstrate expertise in the gender and forestry literature, we can build a community of academic science around what we're doing. Also, I'm on the SAF Accreditation Committee. They really put in a lot of DEI standards in their 2021 revision to those standards, and as a person on the accreditation committee during site visits, as well as the review process that happens just before SAF National every year, I can make sure that institutions meet those standards.
And in our closing question, I'm going to ask Caitlin, Ebony, and Mary Kate to share your reflections on this. How do you think that this convening of the Women's Forest Congress may inspire women in forestry at an individual level, while helping to usher in an era of change in the forestry community as a whole?
So I'll go first. So as one of the things that the advisory group helped to do was, as the steering committee did all of this amazing work and made plans for what this specific event would look like, we helped to provide some advice after all of that hard work was done, which was kind of an interesting role. But this entire Congress was created in order to bring people together, to learn from each other, to help inform the work of the whole, and then create space for conversations and for learning. And so I think individually, although I can't say what each individual person in this room might take away, there was thought put into creating those opportunities, whether it was meeting a new person that can help you learn something new, like what Tia was mentioning, or whether it was being able to be creative in a space that you might not have been before, learn a new Zumba routine, whether it was, to really be able to have frank and honest conversations or hear something from a speaker that you might not have heard before. I know I had that experience during these few days. And so the work that's being done here and the call to action and the action items are what are going to move forward to help influence the entire community. And so, I'm planning, just like Jessica, to take some of these action items and then build them into the work that I do with the International Society of Arboriculture to help promote that to our very large network, and to make sure that we're able to go to the next step and make sure that the work that was done here is able to inspire others. And I think that's what's going to influence the broader community. How many people did you hear yesterday say, I'm the first woman to be the CEO and executive director of the International Society of Arboriculture in our almost 100-year time frame. Our anniversary is 2024. So what I'm taking with me is that I want to hear less of that the next time we have a gathering like that. There should be less people that say that they were the first, because we've created space for the people to move into those leadership roles.
So when I first saw the question, it made me think about Dr. Ed Nichols, who's done a lot of work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he goes back and he starts from the premise of where we come from originally, and what our roles were. And he has this really great piece that he does on women and why women were so vital to the survival of early society, early civilization, because it was women who were able to count before men did, because women knew that it took 9 months to have a baby. Men didn't think about that. I don't know why, but they didn't. It was women who were able to identify by watching the animals when they were ill, which plants and herbs did they eat to make themselves well. So it's always been women who've been foundational in building not only society and civilization, but we've always been the forerunners. We just never get the credit for it. And when I think about the Congress, what I think about is it's up to us to help save our planet, to make sure that we have something to pass on to the next generation. It's up to us to understand and protect our trees, our water, our air. And this is the foundation to that. And it gives each of us in our own way and we individualize it, marching orders to go back in our respective communities and spread the word about what we're doing, but also helping to empower other women to do what we do naturally.
I'll kick off on a very personal, individual level. I'm going to start wearing waterproof mascara to work events because I have teared up a lot in the past 36, 48 hours. It's been incredible. And my Apple Watch just told me I'm officially nervous. It says I have a high heart rate and haven't moved for 10 minutes. So we'll put excited. I'm excited, and I am excited. It has been a very emotional few days for me. Like, I've felt a whole range of feelings of pride, frustration for others, disappointment, empathy, excitement, promise, all of those things I'm feeling really deeply, and I imagine that there's 400 other folks feeling those. So I think on an individual level, I hope everyone's connected with our work and our community in a very personal way, whether that's even just one new connection or one internal feeling. I think that's probably what's happening. Quick plug, what happens in concurrent sessions, breaks, and lunchtime is a great chance to come connect with other individuals on a small level. In the Career Activation Center, there's a Leadership Spotlight series. There's also speed networking. And if you pop over there, you can hear in a really small setting some of these moments, and it's a very different interaction than we get in here. On the system and kind of community level, I think this week has been really tremendous. This week, a couple days. We have achieved a lot. There's been so much on community, inclusion, empowerment, and that's what I see this as, a first phase of really the steps we're taking to empower the women in the forest community to be able to make a difference. And so to me, that's about all of us as individuals, but where's the systems change going to come from? It's when we actually start tackling the issues. And personally, what I'm super excited about is for this movement, this community, and all of us as individuals to really move on to the challenges before us in forestry. And a lot of those are DEI. A lot of them are organizational. They're within the companies, the structures we work within, but there's also massive things that are touching lives of those that don't even know they're being touched by the forest community. I think we've got rural decline, talent drain, the climate and biodiversity crises. And one thing that I've seen here and heard tremendous examples of is storytelling. And what I'm hoping from this is that we are empowering storytellers that are going to change the narrative. That's what I want to see.
And so with that, I just want to encourage everyone here to continue to dive in, to really embrace the experience that we've had so far and what we're going to continue to have as we move through today's sessions. We hope that this experience, this time of convening as a part of the community, inspires change for you at an individual level and inspires you to be the catalyst of change in your respective sphere of influences. Here's to a phenomenal Wednesday at the Women's Forest Congress.